Whether you're thinking about your childhood, online trading, sports, or even Wall Street, everyone loves a story of a lopsided trade.
In the morning when I rise, in the morning when I rise, in the morning when I rise, give me Jesus.
In 7th grade, after basketball practice, we had jersey selections, and I selected the jersey number 21. And my friend really wanted the jersey, so I said, if you really want this jersey, you can give me $20 tomorrow, $21 tomorrow, and you can have it. And then after that, the next day, he brings me the $21, and I'm $21 richer.
When I think of the best NBA trade of all time, I think of the Boston Celtics and Red Auerbach. Red Auerbach wanted to draft Bill Russell in the NBA draft, but his picking position was at second. So what he did was he worked a trade to move up to second. The word was that the Rochester Royals were drafting number 1, and they were going to take Russell. So Auerbach worked a deal with the owner of the Royals to lend the Ice Capades, an ice skating group owned by the owner of the Boston Celtics, down to the Royals to use for 1 week. And in doing so, they would have to pass on drafting Bill Russell. The Royals did so, and the Celtics were able to take Russell with the second overall pick.
Being a quarterback at Vicksburg High School back in the day, there's one trade in the NFL that just really speaks to my mind and almost makes me cry. Brett Favre, when he was drafted by the Atlanta Falcons after 1 year of playing, he got traded to the Green Bay Packers and became one of the greatest quarterbacks.
Let me first say that I'm a huge Cub fan. And so I believe that the greatest trade in Major League Baseball history happened just before the trade deadline in the season of 2014 between the Oakland A's and the Chicago Cubs. Jeff Samardzija and Jason Hamill were starting pitchers for the Chicago Cubs, and Addison Russell and Billy McKinney were minor league players in the Oakland A's organization. Fast forward to the year 2015, the Cubs picked up Jason Hamill, inserted him into the starting rotation. Jeff Samardzija signed with the Chicago White Sox. Addison Russell, almost midway through the year, became the everyday shortstop for the Cubs. Billy McKinney led the Double-A in stolen bases, and Jason Hamill was 10-7 with about a 3.5 ERA, helping the Cubs to an NLCS berth, the first since 2003. Jeff Samardzija has since signed, and he had a sub 500 record last year. But all in all, the Cubs have moved forward and become the favorite in 2016 to win the World Series.
So the greatest online trade that I've ever heard about was my grandmother's best friend's son, Kyle McDonald. He started with a red paperclip and traded it first with a fish-shaped pen. And within 14 trades, ended up trading that with a snowmobile, and ended up trading that with a trip to British Columbia, and eventually traded a role in a movie called Donna on Demand for a 2-story house in Saskatchewan.
Certainly stories like trading a 21 jersey for $21, or even a person who turns a red paper clip into a 2-story house, or sources for the greatest trades of all time. In the stock market, guys like Soros or Livermore, who earned $1 million and $1 billion, are stories of the greatest trades ever. In sports, we have trades in the MLB like trading Babe Ruth to the Yankees for $100,000 and a $3,000 loan, are sources of the greatest trade. Or in the NFL, when you have Brett Favre leaving or you have John Elway going, those are some of the sources for the greatest trades in football. In the NBA, we have trades like Kobe for Vlade Divac, or we have Olden Polynice for Scottie Pippen. and one that we may not even know about. LeBron James actually was acquired by Miami on a sign trade from Cleveland. But when we think about the greatest trades of all time, there is one that absolutely comes to mind.
Yeah, pocket full of boarding passes. I don't know what city I was in last, but I'm out here trying to make an impact.
Believe it or not, the Bible describes the greatest trade that has ever happened. In 2 Corinthians 5:21, it says that God made him who knew no sin to be sin on our behalf, so that we might become the righteousness of God. See, in the beginning, God created two humans, Adam and Eve, and they had a perfect relationship with God. They had a right standing with God, and they had a great relationship with him. But because of their fall, we all have fallen out of relationship with God. And now the Bible declares that all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. Therefore, none of us is righteous. But God took his son and he placed him on the cross. And Jesus bore every single one of our sins so that we may have a right standing relationship with God again. That is the greatest trade that has ever happened.
But I'm still me, what I am now, not what I will be. I'm trying to give life, but this could be the death of me. The death of me, this could be the death of me. Just trying to give life, what I do for a living could kill me. The death of me, this could be the death of me. Just trying to give life, what I do for a living could kill me.
As I said earlier, the beauty of any trade is that you are able to give away something that is useless or unwanted, and you are able to get something that is functional and something that maybe you want. And this is exactly what we find in the ultimate trade. We find that we are able to obtain righteousness and give away our sin. We find that we are able to give up the guilt and the shame that is found in the life of sin, and that we are able to obtain the peace that transcends all understanding. In this, we also are able to give away the bondage. We are able to break free from being captive and being in chains, and we are able to be free and live a life of freedom that God has called us to. We also are able to stop being isolated, and we are able to live in unity with other people. We are able to have relationship. We move from a state of selfishness where we live for ourselves, and we are able to pick up a life of love, where we are able to love God with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and we are able to love others as we have been called to do. That's the beauty of a trade. And with this ultimate trade, it gives us the life that we are ultimately called to live.
When I come to die, give me Jesus, give me Jesus.
There's one thing that tells us why this isn't just the greatest trade, this is the ultimate trade. And it tells us so much about the God who created us. See, most people, whenever they trade something, they trade it because of selfish intent. They think that they have the best deal. They think that they are going to get the best thing in return. But the Bible teaches us in 1 John that God didn't do this out of selfish intent. It teaches us that God did this because he loved us. In 1 John 4, it says, "This is how God showed his love for us. God sent his only son into the world so we might live through him." This is the kind of love we are talking about. Not that we once upon a time loved God, but that he loved us and sent his son as a sacrifice to clear away our sins. See, it was love that motivated God to send his only son to die on the cross, so that you and I could have the opportunity to accept his righteousness and give up our sin. And the cool thing about this work is that it was already complete. When Jesus Christ died on the cross, he said it was finished. But just like any other trade, both sides have to agree. Both sides have to consent to the trade. And it is you and I's job to respond to what Christ has already done. So the question is, have you learned to rely, to trust, to wholly depend on the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ? Have you accepted the ultimate trade?
It's the real me. Feel me? Yeah, I've been changed, but I'm still me. What I am now, not what I will be. I'm trying to give life, but this could be the death of me. The death of me. This could be the death of me. Just trying to give life, what I do for a living.